So I was sitting there, minding my own business, eating discount lasagna in a robe that hasn't been washed since Obama's first term, when I remembered something unholy. Connie Francis was once the most famous woman in America, and now she's mostly a trivia question sandwich between who sang Pretty Little Baby. And wait, she's still alive?
I can't say it on television.
If you think that's weird, just wait till you hear what she had to survive to get there. Spoiler, it involves a fake name, a rhinoplasty, and a father who makes Joe Jackson look like a chill PTA dad. You grow up in Newark, New Jersey, so you're already fighting uphill. Her real name was Concetta Rosa Maria Franconero, which sounds like a bootleg pasta brand, and no record exec wanted that on a 45. So her dad, who micromanaged her career harder than a middle manager with a Bluetooth headset, renamed her Connie Francis and told her to sing like her life depended on it. Because it kinda did. Here's the mainstream history. She flopped 13 singles in a row. That's not rough patch bad. That's maybe it's time to go to dental school bad. But then she covered Who's Sorry Now in 1957. And boom, overnight sensation. Every radio in America blasted her voice, whether you wanted it or not. Fringe detail? She got a nose job at her father's suggestion because he didn't think she looked marketable. To this day, people debate whether she wanted that surgery or if it was just another line in the Control Freak playbook. And that's just the warm-up act. America's sweetheart? More like America's high-functioning trauma response in a poodle skirt.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
So now you're a certified pop icon before you can legally rent a car. Congrats. You're on every jukebox. Your book's solid on Ed Sullivan, and your fan mail needs its own zip code. But instead of basking in the glow of her own superstardom, Connie Francis spent most of her time getting absolutely wrecked by men. And not in the fun tabloid romance way. Let's talk Bobby Darin, teen idol, future Oscar nominee, alleged love of her life. Daddy Francis despised him, said he was a distraction. So what did Connie do? Secretly fell in love anyway, because of course she did. He proposed. Her father chased him out of the house with a literal gun. Not a metaphor. A real metal bullet-firing get-away-from-my-daughter weapon. Here's the thing. Some say Bobby was the one that got away. Others say he dodged a melodramatic musical bullet. What's not up for debate? Connie carried that heartbreak like luggage through marriages, breakdowns, and comeback albums. Now, the mob. Yeah, allegedly. Connie had connections. Italian family, showbiz roots, whisper networks, you get the idea. One Vegas rumor claims she was once warned not to perform a certain song at a certain casino, or else. She sang it anyway. The lights accidentally went out. To this day, people argue whether it was a glitch or a threat. Add in a string of doomed marriages, including one guy who only lasted 4 months, and you've got a woman whose romantic life could power an entire season of The Bachelor Hell Edition. Connie didn't just sing about heartbreak, she practically franchised it. You ever have one of those days where your life falls apart in a Howard Johnson motel? No? Well, Connie Francis did. 1974. After a show in New York, she checks into a Howard Johnson near the Jericho Turnpike, probably humming Where the Boys Are. Except this boy? Not great. She's attacked in her room, assaulted, robbed. The door lock? Flimsy, basically decorative. What followed was a legal battle that made national headlines. She sued the motel for failing to provide basic security and won $2.5 million. That's 1970s money, which means today it'd buy you a private island and a therapy llama. Here's the weird bit. That lawsuit became a landmark in hotel safety regulations. So yeah, Connie Francis, the voice behind Lipstick on Your Collar, accidentally revolutionized hotel liability law. Because sure, why not add that to the resume? But this wasn't just a court case. This broke her. She vanished, checked into psychiatric hospitals, struggled with depression, agoraphobia, paranoia. At one point, she said she couldn't listen to music, her music, without crying. Some folks think this was the true end of her public life, the point where Connie the brand split from Connie the person. Others, they say the system failed her, chewed her up, and sent her back with a note pinned to her gown. She later called this period her lost decade. You think your 20s were bad? Imagine being famous, traumatized, and legally barred from showing emotion in public because it might tank record sales. Still, she came back, scarred, sarcastic, and absolutely done with everyone's crap. In other words, stronger. So picture this, it's the mid-1980s. You're sipping instant coffee in a suburban kitchen, and suddenly Connie Francis is running for office. Not just any office, governor of New Jersey. Because apparently, surviving the music industry and motel lawsuits just wasn't stressful enough. Yep, Connie, pop legend, mental health warrior, trauma survivor, decides politics is the next logical step. Her campaign slogan? A new voice for New Jersey. Subtle, but here's the kicker. She announced it while wearing sunglasses and standing next to a man dressed as Uncle Sam. The press didn't know whether to cover the story or call it in as performance art. People weren't ready. She wanted to advocate for mental health, crime victims, music education. You know, actual important stuff. But instead of hearing her out, the media went full circus. Late-night hosts joked about her meds. Journalists called it a stunt. And just like that, it was over before it started. Connie withdrew quietly, the way most politicians should. The weirdest part? She might have made a good governor. She was fearless, outspoken, didn't owe the system a damn thing. Some say her timing was off. Others think the industry blacklisted her long before the ballots were even printed. But let's not pretend it didn't leave a mark. The idea of a woman, especially one with a history of mental health issues, running for public office was still scandalous in Reagan's America. Her campaign wasn't just political. It was personal rebellion with glitter on top. Also, side note, Ronald Reagan was president. So spare us the she wasn't qualified argument. And then there's the part they really don't talk about, because it doesn't fit neatly into a greatest hits compilation or PBS fundraiser. Connie Francis didn't just disappear. She unraveled. Publicly. Messily. And with a kind of brutal honesty that made people uncomfortable. By the 1990s, she was in and out of psychiatric care, releasing comeback albums in between breakdowns. She called press conferences just to yell at the press. She sued everyone from old boyfriends to record labels to major networks for airing unauthorized biographies. At one point, she tried to stop VH1 from airing a Behind the Music episode about her. That's right, she sued a nostalgia network. But you know what's wild? The lawsuits weren't always about revenge. Some were about control, about telling her own story before someone else butchered it into a tabloid headline. Some fans say she finally snapped. Others argue she finally got free. And somewhere in the chaos, amid the restraining orders and the self-published memoirs and the rumors of another tour, was a woman who still sang, still wrote, still showed up to retro festivals and oldies cruises like the legend she was. To this day, folks still debate how Connie Francis should be remembered. Icon, victim, warning label. You could argue all three. But what's clear is that she survived more than most of us could in 5 lifetimes, and somehow kept enough sense of humor to title her autobiography, Who's Sorry Now? So yeah, maybe fame is a disease. Maybe it's your voice, your privacy, your peace. But in Connie's case, it never took her fight. So maybe this wasn't the tidy, tear-jerking story you were expecting. Maybe it wasn't a Disney-fied arc of redemption and roses, but it was real, raw, reckless, human. Connie Francis wasn't perfect, and thank God for that. She was the kind of messy, magnificent chaos that only shows up once in a generation and sticks around long after the spotlight dims. So pour yourself something strong, hum a little off-key, and toast to the pop star who refused to go quietly. All right, that's enough chaos for one day. Go outside. Touch grass. Or don't. I'm not your therapist.